Hey everyone, welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar after show. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the after show today is the director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Raitt, and today's instructor and special guest. Today's instructor is Mr. Tom Wetzel, and the class was Your Supply Chain, the Cyber Criminals Playground. Welcome, Tom, to the after show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, George. Pleasure to be with you and Patrick, always.
Wonderful. Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. Wow, thanks. Tom, when you give these presentations, they're really interesting and really informative. And I noticed that like the LLM page, I think had half as many like AI agents on it. You had ChatGPT, Claude, things like that, and maybe about 5 or 6 more. And since the last time you gave this class, I think the amount of those has doubled. I was wondering if you could tell me how often you either update these classes or you need to update these classes. And do you find you update the tech more or the stats more, or what changes the most in these classes?
Well, first of all, it's difficult to bring it entirely up to date each time, only because it changes so fast. And I know I've changed the list of large language models several times because some have dropped off and others have been added. And the order has changed. I mean, I've got ChatGPT, Copilot, and Claude, which are arguably the 3 that I see most often.
Right.
But all the statistics, I see that changes. What I really am focused on is the strategies, new developments, the breaches. The specific breaches I do change, but that becomes so overwhelming. When I put up the slide of the breaches of brand names and then insurance companies and insurance vendors, that changes. But it's all about, nobody's looking at, what they're looking at is that's a lot rather than the specific ones. And I try to localize them as much as possible. In fact, in my various presentations, if I'm in Iowa, for example, I will include some Iowa breaches. And that statistic that I reference, the world, the percentage of cybercrime losses that can be attributed to cybercrime.
Yep.
I had a chart in there that projected, and those projections started to be changed and it became more undependable, unreliable. So I took it down just to say it's big, depending on who you talk to, it's 8 trillion or 10 trillion. Well, what's an extra $1 trillion, right?
Right.
But yeah, if there are any significant developments, I'll revise it probably every month to some extent.
That's cool. And you gear this presentation towards particular states or agencies, or the presentation in a state, like you'll do that, you said?
Well, I will include very localized examples when I have them, or breaches when I have them, or as they occur, just
Sure.
Because the standard, well, that happened somewhere else, it doesn't affect me. Well, it has happened here. You need to pay attention.
Right. You had a slide and you talked about the challenges of using AI, and you had a short list of challenges. You had cybersecurity, data privacy, productivity, and compliance. So my basic understanding of AI and ChatGPT are that they're supposed to help with productivity, but you listed it as a challenge of use. Is it more of a challenge, or is it a challenge to productivity, or does it help, or what's the challenge related to productivity?
Well, the challenge is that a lot of AI tools rush to market. They want to get it out there. They want to provide, and you go to a trade show and you'll see a vendor and saying, this thing is going to change your life, your agency's life. and I'll ask them to tell me more, but then I'll ask them, or I'll find out that the extent to which they have addressed the cybersecurity issues that they are creating have been minimized or not prioritized. That's a red flag for me. And one of the things that I'm telling agents is they have to have that conversation with a vendor, and their policyholders have to do it too. When you're talking to a vendor and they're trying to sell you something, I want to know, what are your cybersecurity protocols? What are your certifications? What steps have you taken? Where's your data located? Where is it? How is it secured? All of those questions, and so that I can feel comfortable that, okay, you've done your due diligence, and they have done their due diligence, and they take it seriously. I think I've told this story before, but I had an agency management system that I was looking at, and I asked, I went onto their website, and they didn't have a privacy policy. And I actually called them, and do you have a privacy policy? Oh yeah, it's not up there. What that told me was it wasn't a priority, or it was an oversight. And they're not thinking about it. That's a red flag right off the bat. To what extent are they taking steps to make sure the data that they are collecting and utilizing and monetizing is protected?
Got it. Thank you. Patrick, as relates to insurance in particular, as relates to cybersecurity in general, what did you think of Tom's class specifically? What do you think of the topic in general? And since we do need to update this so often, should we have Tom back next week?
So this is really a topic that I feel like is not maybe misunderstood, but certainly mischaracterized. As Tom had said, a lot of people, especially agents, and we'll broaden this out into entrepreneur type people in general, they're very confident people. They're very optimistic people. And that part of that is great, right? Because you need to be a little optimistic when things don't look great. However, that blind optimism will often inform, it won't happen to me, or it can't happen to me. And so they begin to get, they begin to think they don't need to take precautions like other businesses might. And so, when you're dealing with, in particular, sensitive data, as insurance people have access to, there are agencies somewhere today in the United States who have their people putting customer data into Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, in order to speed their own products out there, their own risk management type products, or their own desires to build the book of business from their client base. And they're not protecting their clients' data as they ought. Not that there's anything nefarious in the way they want to do things. They're just neglecting that piece in there. And that is really, in many ways, that's kind of the heart of the issue to me, is the protection of data. We've been talking for years, Tom, about who owns the data, right? And now we've got to be talking about who is protecting the data. And that is, those questions are the tough ones that I don't know that everybody's asking or has an answer to.
And it's difficult to, for an agent, they're multitasking, a lot of pressure, and they may have taken some steps 2 years ago, 3 years ago, to, upgrade their defenses. And their standard answer is, well, we changed all our firewalls last year. Mm-hmm. When firewalls are half as effective as they were last year. You've got to stay ahead of it And it's just as important, and this is the thing that I tried to emphasize in the session. It's not just protection of the agency's data. It's being able to talk to their clients, their policyholders, and saying, this is why you need to stay ahead of the game. I understand the cybersecurity threats and how they have changed over the last 6 months. You need to do the same. And I'm looking out for your business, your welfare here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job.
Yeah. And truly, we could have all the best firewalls and appropriate password protection and all of those things and policies in place. But the real vulnerability, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the real vulnerability is the person sitting at the keyboard in the things that they're doing. Because as we all know, scammers are spoofing emails. They are sending messages that appear to be legitimate and all of those things. And the biggest, to me, vulnerability is that person who may or may not be really paying attention to the cracks in the system that may be there.
Well, I would argue has always been an important element. The competence and skill of your employees to stay on the lookout for things. But AI has created such an environment where it's increasingly hard to do that. That's why you have to have a strong cybersecurity in the back office. And, relying solely on the IT guy that has handled your agency systems for the last 10 years and always a good guy, and saying that he's effective. I've had conversations with principals and saying, I ask them some basic cybersecurity questions, and they say, our IT guy take care of that. And then you ask the IT guy, and it's clear that they're not doing everything they need to be doing. And it's not because they're trying to be nefarious, but they just aren't trained to the extent that the task requires at this point. Sure. And that's a tough. When we talk to an agency who has a cybersecurity guy there, and he says, "I'm delighted to have somebody else looking over my shoulder. I want to know what I missed, because I'm telling you, I'm up to my neck." Mm-hmm. And I love, because they're taking it seriously. But the guy said, "Oh, we've got it covered, boss." Maybe they do, but just as often they probably don't.
Right.
Tom, part of the tone today of today's class was how to do things right when it comes to AI. What the wrong thing might be happening with your agency, and what you can do to offset things, how to do things right. We have you again in September 10th, for a class called AI Transforms Agency Marketing, Why You're Doing It Wrong. So you're telling us how to do it right today. Why are we doing it wrong in September? What's going on, and how can you help?
The key thing is understanding why you're using it. That's number one. Everybody's told, I need to use AI. And at a base level, you're understanding, I need to streamline this operation or that operation. But you have to ask yourself some very specific questions. What tasks, what pain points would I most want to solve or eliminate with AI? That's the first question. Once you know that, you're going to be dissuaded from, I'll just try this AI guy and see if it works. You're going to be focused on, I'm going to solve this particular problem. That's my focus. Can this tool do that? And can I measure the effectiveness to which they can do that? At that point, then it becomes a matter of governing your use of AI. Do you have an inventory of all the tools inside your agency that uses AI? Do you understand the certifications and cybersecurity protocols that all of these AI tools use? Do you understand who, and do you have guidelines within your agency who can access these tools and for what purpose? And and using what network, that laptop as opposed to that laptop or whatever the system is. Can I access it outside the office on a remote? What do you have in place to address the security issues? That all of that comes into play here. It's AI governance, and that applies to the tools themselves, but it also applies to the people using them, the employees using them. That's just a starting point.
Perfect. That's a great teaser. So the class in September is AI Transforms Agency Marketing, Why You're Doing It Wrong. And today's class was Your Supply Chain, the Cybercriminals Playground. Tom, thank you so much for your help today and your knowledge and your up-to-the-minute knowledge and your real-time assessment of everything. Really appreciate it. Any final words on the subject, or does it? Have we said it all?
Be a sponge. What I love to hear agents is, I don't know what I don't know. Take that attitude, and you can't learn enough about it. You're not going to be technically proficient, but understand it in more in depth, and you will receive. There are a lot of benefits to doing that, which I articulated in the session.
Got it. Yes, very much so. Great, Tom. Thank you so much. Patrick, thank you for braving the cybersecurity waters and coming to the after show today and everything you do, as always.
Always great. We love it. We love to do these shows.
So then, Tom, thank you again, and we're looking forward to seeing you in September. So thank you.
I'll be here.
All right, great. Today's class was Your Supply Chain, the Cybercriminals Playground. Our after show had Patrick Raitt, Director of the Academy of Insurance, and Tom Wetzel, today's instructor. I'm your host, George, saying thank you, everybody. On behalf of these gentlemen, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.